Welcome to another video clip of MrLopezClasses.com. This is the video clip for the laboratory number 1 in our course of marine gasoline engines, inboards and outboards. This is the lab number 1, and in this lab we are going to check once again the difference between 2-stroke and 4-stroke gasoline engines. We are going to analyze and we are going to see the difference checking both type of engines. You remember the explanation about what is the meaning of 4 strokes? Intake, compression, power, and exhaust. Those are the typical 4 strokes. Suppose that this is the head and this is the piston. And in the head I have 2 valves. I have intake valves and exhaust valves here. Intake valves and exhaust valves. Suppose that I am going to start with the intake. When the piston is going down. Okay, let me check. In the intake, the piston is going down. Ready? Perfect. The piston is going down. Now, when the piston is going down, I want to enter air in the diesel engine or air and fuel in the gas engine. Ready? Okay. In that case, during the intake stroke, the piston is going down. And what valve is open? Intake valve or exhaust valve? Intake valve is open and exhaust is closed. Okay. During the intake valve is open and the exhaust valve is closed. Perfect. And the piston is going down. And the crankshaft, in this movement, the crankshaft rotates half turn. The crankshaft rotates 180 degrees, half turn. Alright, perfect. And now the piston is in the bottom. And the piston starts to go up to produce compression. What happened with the valves in order to compress? Should be, both of them, close. Okay. Close and close in compression. The piston is going up. The piston is going up. And the crankshaft rotates other 180 degrees. Other 180 up. Right now the piston is at the end, on top that center when both valves are closed, and the piston on top. Ready? And now the fuel enter in diesel engines and produce the explosion, or the spark plug produce the spark and ignite the mixture. Okay, in this moment the power is produced, the explosion is produced, and the piston goes down. What happened with the valves? The valves open or close? The valves continue closed, but the explosion is produced. Okay, in power, the piston goes down again. The explosion sends the piston down. Other half rotation of the crankshaft. And the piston, the valves close and close. And now the piston is in the bottom again, and all of this cylinder full of smoke. And right now the piston try to goes up again, and what happened with the valves? Intake and exhaust. Intake stay closed and exhaust open, and the smoke goes out. This is exhaust. Alright, the piston is going up. The crankshaft rotate other 180 and the valves intake closed and exhaust open. Bingo! Yeah, those are 4 strokes. And this is the meaning of a 4 cycle or 4 strokes. Intake, compression, power and exhaust. And what happened with the valves? This is for 4-stroke engines. And you remember the explanation about the 2-stroke gasoline engines? In 2 strokes there are some difference. For example, in 2 strokes the cylinder is not a cylindrical element like this. The cylinder have a couple of holes, one in each side, 2 holes, one in front of the other one, like the picture that you have on the screen right now. In the bottom of the cylinder, if you check in the picture, there are 2 holes, one practically in front of the other one. And additionally, the shape of the piston the head of the piston in two-stroke engines have this shape, like a castle, like this. And what is the idea? In the bottom of the cylinder there are the holes, one hole here and other hole in the other side for exhaust, because the exhaust manifold is located here in the other side for exhaust. In two-stroke is in the bottom of the block, because in this particular case, this is the intake manifold. This is the intake manifold, and in the intake manifold you have here the carburetor or throttle body, and the carburetor mixes the fuel and mixes the oil and mixes the air. You have fuel plus oil plus air entering in the combustion chamber in the bottom. For one side of the holes. In the other side you have the exhaust. Let me show to you. This is the situation, exactly the situation. This is the block, and this is the head. The head only have the hole for the spark plug. And on the cylinder you have one hole here for intake, and you have other hole here for exhaust. Let me check what happened. And in the bottom, in the crankcase, when you talk about the two cycle cylinders or two-stroke engines, the name of the oil pan is the crankcase. The crankcase and the block, this is the bottom of the engine. In the bottom of the engine, in the crankcase, this is the crankcase. In the bottom of the crankcase is where the oil pan is together with the block. There are one port with a valve, like a check valve. That port allow, this is the carburetor with the air filter, with the fuel tank, and other tank here for oil. In the crankcase, in the bottom, the air enter mixed with fuel and oil. You remember that explanation in one of the videos of chapter 2? Remember, in two-stroke engines, instead of the block and the oil pan, we have the block and the crankcase. Yes, the crankcase is in the bottom where the connecting rods are connected with the crankshaft. This is the crankcase. In two-stroke engine, that area is the crankcase. And the intake manifold in two-stroke is located over there. The air enters in the bottom. In the moment that the air enters in the crankcase, you have the reed valves. Those valves allow the input of air, but that block that the air goes out, because those are like a check valves I explained before in the previous episode. Okay, my friend. For that reason, in the lab with your instructor, we are going to remove the intake manifold and the heads for a couple of inboard gasoline engines. And I need that you analyze, you pay attention in details, how is that the air enter through the carburetor or throttle body, and how the air in the intake manifold enter in the intake ports of the heads. I need that you visualize that. And check with a flashlight the intake valves, the stem of the intake valves. And check in the other side of the head, the exhaust valves. In the next class, in the class of diesel, we are going to disassemble the head, that process, and we are going to remove the valve, and we are going to seat the valves again. We are going to repair the head completely. For that reason, in this class, no. Later, in the diesel, we are going to disassemble the head. It's exactly the same. Okay, but I need that you analyze the head. The intake ports, the exhaust ports, the intake ports connected with the intake manifold, the exhaust port connected with the exhaust manifold and the exhaust pipe. This is for inboard gasoline engines. And in a couple of outboards, two strokes, we are going to check how is that the air enter in the bottom, pass through the reed valves, and the air mixed with oil and fuel enter in the crankcase, lubricate the connecting rods, and after that pass to the combustion chamber. I need that you analyze how is the process, where are the cavities for the oil, how the air enter, and how the air at high pressure suction the fuel and send the fuel. It is carbureted, because if it's fuel injected, the fuel enter on the head, because the fuel injector is located on the head. We are going to analyze both situations. Your instructor have one example with carburetor. If the carburetor, if the engine is outboard two-stroke carbureted, the fuel is mixed in the bottom, in the crankcase. If the engine is fuel injected, the fuel enter on the head, because the injector and the spark plugs, both of them are located on the head. Yes, my friend, I need that you analyze both heads. The head for inboard 4 strokes, you found it in that head, the rocker arms, you found it the valves, and you found it all the mechanisms on the head. And check the head of the outboard 2 strokes. It's flat, only with one hole for the spark plug and other hole for the injector if it's fuel injected. It's completely different. You don't have mechanism, you don't have valve. Yeah, in the outboard 2 strokes, you don't have camshaft. Check that. I want that you see the difference between both of them. This is the lab for this week. This is the lab number 1. We are going to analyze, we are going to understand how is the flow of air, how is the flow of fuel, and how is the path for oil in inboard engines and outboards. In chapters later, we are going to analyze the oil, we are going to analyze the coolant, we are in details. But now I need that you visualize how is the head, how is the position of the intake manifold, how is the position of the exhaust manifold, and how is that process for intake manifold for inboards and outboards. Okay, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this lab. I hope that you ask all the questions that you have for your instructors, and I want that you solve those questions. If you have additional questions, you can send an email to my address www.mrlopezclases.com or directly with your instructor. Enjoy the lab.